Man, I just started streaming during COVID. I was a church planner. Started a church in 2018 in Dallas. Moved down here from Chicago. Just did the thing, parachute plant. So didn't know anybody in the city that we planted in. Just came down in faith and opened that up. Then COVID happened. Trying to figure out what to do next. And really, it was a painful place for sure. Really, really painful place. Just figuring out, man, is the church going to make it? How do we get through this season? And so I had been playing a lot of games just to escape. Honestly, it was just like my escape hatch, and bought a little used camera for my Xbox and just started doing it. And then just 2 weeks ago announced that I'm full-time streaming, and the church that I'm a part of is actually sending me out as a digital missionary. They see what we're doing and they're really pumped about it. And
Amazing.
So it's been crazy, but yeah, just kind of stumbled into it, and God's been breathing on it and worked really hard, prayed a lot of faith, and it's been exciting to see what God's doing.
So I work at Elevation Church, but I'm our broadcast location youth pastor as well as our gaming director. And it's so amazing that I get to lead our gaming ministry and build it. And we've got a lot of resources at our hands at Elevation that have certainly helped us.
This idea of like digital missionaries, which to be fair, this is the first time I've heard of that. I haven't even thought about that as a term, to coin it like that. So in your own words, I guess, Graham, we could start with you. What does it mean to be a digital missionary? How have you found it being like doing the gaming and having that role in your church? What are the pros? What are the negatives?
I wanted a way to represent what I do. Like, there's a lot of vocal Christians and they don't reach anybody. Like they're streaming to 3 people, they're unashamed for the gospel, but they have no idea how to connect with culture, and they have no idea how to connect with actual lost people. I think we need more digital missionaries and less Christian content creators. Christian content creators, just nobody wants to watch them. It's like, hey, the second you say I'm a Christian musician, who's listening to you? Christians. Like, lost people aren't out looking for a Christian musician to listen to. They're just out listening for the next great beat, right? Yeah. If I say I'm a Christian gamer, no lost people who really need the hope of Christ are out looking for that. They're just looking for somebody who's going to be funny and cracked at a video game that they like to play. So I have a much better chance of actually connecting with the people I want to connect with who are lost.
Resources are not going to be your greatest indicator of success or failure when it comes to the gaming space. Because people can see right through a fancy camera. They see right through a great graphics package. I'm not saying those things aren't important, but if you think that just because you look the part that people are going to resonate with you, you don't know Twitch and you really don't know social media. We don't need a gaming ministry. We have a gaming missionary. And I think that this is such an applicable thing in the church at large. We want to program everything instead of empower the people that are already there. You don't need a basketball ministry. You just need to realize that God's put some hoopers in your midst, that if you would just resource them, honor them, encourage them, like just come around them, they will go. And just like Grant said, they will incarnate Christ into the spheres that they go to. So I think it's the same thing. I think it's the same thing with gaming. I love gaming, but I've always loved using the things that people love to become a bridge to get them into church and to ultimately introduce them to Jesus.
But yeah, what are some success stories for you? And then maybe also sometimes have been a little difficult for you.
When people who are filled with the Spirit of God also learn how to leverage their skills to build business and build income streams, like the Apostle Paul making tents, right? Yeah. Paul was a tent maker. I play video games, same energy, energy, right? I just want to see the gospel go forward. Those are a couple of my wins. John, what you got, man? What you celebrate?
Wow.
Sometimes some of the biggest wins are the small wins where somebody, like I saw in this chat, literally last night, they just said, hey, I just went to church for the first time in a while. And I think that there is sometimes a healthy place to start with anonymity, so to speak. It's one of the things that people critique the most about online ministry is, are they real people and are they giving their real selves? Well, man, a lot of people just, sometimes it helps that there's a place to start. Even when we think about, small groups are the best, right? They make a big church feel small. Yeah, they also make a big church feel terrifying. Because now there's actually safety in a crowd for some people. I think the greatest call to the church right now is just self-awareness of just going like, man, like is what we can't just measure like our faithfulness by activity. We've got to measure it by effectiveness.
What I'm terrified is going to happen is that all these churches and all these ministries are just going to start hanging a shingle in the metaverse, and they're going to start putting on a VR church service under their brand. And it lets you look like you're taking territory. But as a missionary, if you're going to come in, do the work. If you don't put in the work to learn why, when they get home from work, sometimes they're ignoring their wives and their kids to get on Twitch and sit there. Like, if you don't put in the work to learn who that person is, why they're doing that, who cares if you're putting on a service?
Those of us who work at a church, we oftentimes minimize the greater work at God because we're so focused on the church of Christ and not the kingdom of God coming to earth. And the kingdom of God is what Jesus came to usher in. And the kingdom of God has unlimited resources that sometimes when we think through the lens of just like church, Sunday service, all these things, we're a very narrow lens. But we just sometimes minimize the scope of God's kingdom to what we do on church on Sundays. And so I just echo what Grant said. I think if we're going to impact the metaverse, I think pastors need to know their lane and we need to empower the people of God. And honestly, pastors need to actually take the lead of the people in the church. Just because we're the leaders doesn't mean that we should always be taking the lead.
So yeah, that's beautiful, guys. I think there's been some rich conversation. There's a lot to unpack, and obviously the conversation is never over. But it's such a big topic. I could probably talk about this for hours. But come say hi, Zach. This is Zach.
This is a walking testimony in itself.
Yeah.
I mean, Zach,
right here,
right there.
Hello.
What's up?
But that was like, I was kind of just listening in the background. That was really sick. You're both sick.
Thanks, man.
Zach, if I may, right? I may share a bit. Like, I mean, Zach, I don't think you had stopped going to church or something like that.
So I was just like out of my routine, and it was just like a period of time where I just kind of, I don't know. It's not that I wasn't bothered, but I just kind of couldn't take myself to get up and go to church,
right?
Because I was very stationed at home, and then obviously we had all the lockdown stuff and all that happened, and then I was going through Instagram and I saw the story and I was like, oh, I'll give that a go, because like I miss going, and I'd always kind of thought about going back. It was now like an active thought,
and
now I'm like fully invested in it.
So
come on, that's as good as it gets. That's it. That's what it's about.